So here's what I'm thinking. It's time to get back to the garden. From the beginning of days, we have always known that we have so much to be thankful for. And when I say the beginning of days, I mean it. Almost every culture and tradition has some sort of creation story, whether it's the breaking of the egg in Chinese myth, or the spirit people making humans out of clay in African storytelling. But in the Christian, Islamic, and Jewish tradition, we are well used to hearing these words. And God created the heaven and earth, and it was good. Of course, we know how that story turned out. Adam and Eve were living in abundance and goodness, but failed to look around them and realize it. They were too caught up in thinking and wondering and being tempted by what they didn't have that they failed to see the abundance of what they did have. They traded positive and sustaining, fulfilling emotions such as gratitude and contentment for negative emotions that empty our being, like resentment and jealousy. And here were Adam and Eve living in paradise, and they let their brain, or snake, depending on how you interpret the story, talking them into feeling like they were victims. Upon being asked to leave the Garden of Eden, they suddenly came to their senses and became completely aware of just how good they had it. For many of us, this story is all too familiar. We fail to recognize that we live in abundance and goodness all the time. Too often, we focus on what we don't have, about what we didn't get. It's easy for us to compare ourselves with people who we believe have more possessions, more talents, more good fortune. Oddly enough, we rarely compare ourselves with those people in the world who have less than us. We let our brains, or the snake of society's expectations, depending on how you interpret the story, talk us into this. And we experience the same negative emotions that Adam and Eve did: resentment, jealousy, victimization. Now, I think it is safe to say that we would all trade these negative feelings for positive ones. And you know what? We know how that happens. Gratitude is the transformative medicine, the way back to the garden. Now, we have always known that gratitude is good manners, and many people have used gratitude as a spiritual path in their own lives. However, recently we have found out through study and research that gratitude is also just plain good for you. It's good for your health, it's good for your well-being. Here are some of the things that we know about people who are grateful. They are less depressed. They are more satisfied with their lives. They are happier with their social relationships. They are less stressed. They have higher levels of purpose in their lives. They use positive forms of coping. They tend to grow from life's experiences, even adversity. They have higher levels of self-acceptance. They even sleep better. In other words, people who express gratitude are less stressed, less depressed, and feel more blessed. Now, who wouldn't want that? And if you would want it, wouldn't you be willing to work for it? For many of us, this is a scene right out of our childhood. We'd be visiting a grandparent or a friend of the family, and we would be offered something, a birthday present, a piece of candy, or a cold drink. And we would eagerly and happily say yes, and then take the gift and rip open the wrapping paper, or grab the candy bar and open it up and take a big bite. And then we would hear in the background our mother's voice. What do you say when somebody gives you something? And Mom would be right. When we get a gift, we should say thank you. And most of us, I think, would agree with that, but here comes the hard part. Too often, we don't recognize it when we are given something. We take things for granted. like the friendship and loyalty of people, like the love of a partner, like the grace of God. Sometimes we just don't pay attention and we miss the beauty of a sunset or the joy in a child's laugh. Sometimes we are not grateful because we feel we haven't been given anything. We feel what we have has been granted completely by our own hard work. We've earned it, our job, our economic status, our education. But mostly, we just don't think about it. How does the line go? You don't know what you've got until it's gone. And so we don't pay attention, let alone express gratitude for our car starting in the morning. It's supposed to start. But we do notice and begin cursing when that same car doesn't start. At what moment does a parent absolutely know how grateful they are for a child? After they have lost their son or daughter for 10 minutes in a crowd. This is probably most apparent when it comes to issues of health. We are rarely grateful for not being sick. If you are like most people, you don't spend time being thankful that your heart continues to beat. You don't spend time being thankful that your legs continue to work. Your outlook might change, of course, if you had a heart attack or were placed in a wheelchair. And not just your own health, but most of us don't express gratitude that a partner is cancer-free or that a child is not struggling with mental illness. There are countless stories of people who have gone through and survived a health crisis. And most of these people feel exactly the same way when they come out the other side. They say, I will never take life for granted again. The key, I think, though, is to learn that before the crisis. Because here is what my search for Oogway is telling me. Each of us, every day, countless times, are offered our own metaphorical pieces of candy, our own birthday presents by the universe. Each of us have been given so many gifts, and they've already been given. The gift of people who love us, our families, the gift of living in this wonderful world, and on and on. So then what's my point? Well, as it usually is, it's quite simple. We are too busy. We are too caught up in trying to get to the place where we think happiness is that we fail to realize that perhaps we have already arrived. We need to be intentional with our gratitude in order to get the benefits of what we have been given. We need to practice thankfulness as a way of being, as a way of life. So, here is what I'm going to try to do. You may have heard this quote before. What if you woke up tomorrow with only the things that you were thankful for today? That is what I'm going to try. I'm going to believe in that. I'm going to think hard and think happy about all I have been given. I am going to be intentional about seeing all of the blessings in my life and expressing gratitude for them. And I think if I do this, my life will change. I will start to experience peace and joy and a positive attitude. I will smile more. I will have more energy. I will forgive faster. I will love more. And I will be happier. And I think I will be closer on my journey to becoming Oogway. And perhaps, just perhaps, if I practice this intentionally, over time, perhaps the clouds will lift and maybe the clutter will disappear and I will notice something unbelievable. That I am standing in the garden. For there is no past tense in creation. The world is recreated every day as the sun rises. So it's not just that it was good. It is good. Really good. It's not just that life is a gift. It's that life is full of gifts. full of abundance. Yes, there are moments of hardship, and yes, there is sadness, and yes, at times even tragedy, but the overwhelming amount of goodness in the world makes these moments bearable and temporary, and at times even trivial. But only if you see the goodness. Less stressed, more blessed. I can live with that. Happy Thanksgiving. I am grateful for you in my life.